Hello, welcome to Horror Court Trash Show, the show that discusses all of the masterpieces and trashpieces of genre cinema. I'm Gary.
And I'm Chris.
And we are continuing our journey through the Paranormal Activity franchise this week with a slight change to schedule. There's simply too much to say about these films.
Yeah, I think maybe we were a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Ambitious, thank you. Ambitious.
Yeah, so the final two episodes of this little series are going to be split into two. So this week we will discuss Paranormal Activity 4 and the marked ones, and on Friday you could
been a while.
I know, you could tune in to hear us talk about the Ghost Dimension and Next of Kin. So before we get to that though, we have a little catch up. So what's new with Chris and Gary?
Yeah, best of the week. Shall I go first?
I think it's going to be the same.
I think it's going to be the same. For me, it's Civil War.
It's Civil War.
The new film from Alex Garland.
Yes.
Kirsten Dunst.
Yep. Kaylee Spaney.
Yeah, leads a fantastic cast. Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was very gripping, very interesting, brought up a lot of questions. I like a film where me and Gary could sit afterwards and discuss it over a cup of coffee. I like that. I like a film that allows us to do that. Not every film has to have essays written about it.
That's true.
It can just be fun. But obviously it was going for quite political.
Yeah. But
not in many degrees.
I mean, yeah, it is and it isn't. I mean, one of the biggest critiques about the film is that it didn't tell you what side it's on or what side you should be on. And sometimes, you know what, that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. It doesn't need to spoon feed you everything. It's actually, first and foremost, a film about journalism.
Yeah. I agree to a certain degree with that, because a lot of people say, yes, it's not a political film because it doesn't speak specifically on politics. But as a war film, it is political.
Yeah.
Like, wars are political.
Yeah, no, of course.
When we turn around and say, when people say, I don't do politics, and we all turn around and say, well, everything is politics. Everything is.
Yeah.
The price of your milk at the shop is politics.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. So it is a very political film.
Yeah.
It brings up a lot of questions about the state of our world.
Yeah.
Really. And also history.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people have critiqued it for not drawing the line and saying who is who, what is what, and where they stand.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's fair, because I don't think that was necessary.
No, absolutely not. And plus, you know, that's kind of what makes it scarier, not knowing what side who's on. I mean, you know, there's a lot of realism within that. But it seriously is incredible, and it has to be seen in IMAX. It's honestly looked and sounded phenomenal.
I said to Gary when we left the screening, I was surprised that it's been advertised as an IMAX experience kind of film, and the posters are very they're giving like action film, you know, and all that, where it's actually very bleak.
Very bleak, very downbeat. But it is an action film.
Yeah, but not in the same way I would. I'm trying to think of a good example. Sort of like Dread.
Yeah.
Which is a fantastic action film. It's kind of been advertised similar to that.
Yeah.
When really, yes, there's a lot of action in it. It's a war film. But that's not really what it's about.
No.
You know, it's there to shock and bring the tension rather than a exhilarating experience.
Yeah.
Should I say?
But it is an IMAX experience.
But it's an IMAX experience, yes, I completely agree. But when I think IMAX, I think, the new Marvel film in IMAX, 4K, 4D, sensory, 3D, you know, that shit.
All the films we've been discussing this week and last week have all been released in IMAX, apart from the first one. Okay. Paranormal Activity films.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're meant to be a roller coaster.
Yeah. Oh, don't say
Scorsese would
shit like
say.
that. Get out of here. Fuck off.
Paranormal Activity, more than any of the films,
Speaking of a
is
roller
meant to
coaster,
be, but it is.
speaking of a roller coaster, the
Mm.
worst of the week is a film that I think was made shockingly for an audience about 20 years younger than us. It's God's, as Chris calls it, Godzilla times Kong, the new empire.
I'm sorry to tell you, I completely agree. A very, very disappointing.
Godzilla's always been made for adults. I mean, made for kids as well, but it's sort of Toy Story thing where it's like this is made for both at the same time. It genuinely felt like Godzilla and Kong: The New Empire was just a dumbed down version of Godzilla. It was like again spoon feeding. This was spoon feeding you, because every time a new monster would appear, you'd get a voiceover giving some sort of fucking explanation of what it is. We don't need to know. It's fine, but it's like, you know, I've enjoyed the MonsterVerse up until this point. I really have. I think they've all been fun, even if throwaway fun. This wasn't even fun. It was just boring up until the third act. It was fucking boring.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe has been accused of a lot of that just happened moments, which I didn't really notice for a lot of the time. But now the internet has told me about it. Now I notice it. In this film, Godzilla times by Kong, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
The amount of moments where, oh, I can't believe that this just happened. Oh, did you just see that? Like, of course I fucking saw it. Stop. I hate it. I hate it now. And the internet, something else the internet has ruined is that they've pointed out, and I'm looking for these moments.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But it was constant. And I feel like it really, and okay, if the film is geared towards a child audience, then I understand a lot of it being dumbed down a little or oversimplified. I get it. But I wasn't expecting that experience.
No.
If the first few films had been geared towards children, then I would be like, okay,
Yeah.
I know what to expect. But, you know, I don't have the best memory when it comes to these films. But I distinctly remember, and it's no spoiler, Juliette Binoche dying very early on into Godzilla.
Yeah.
Like, one of the main characters dying. I remember the Cannibal Holocaust references. Was it in
Kong Skull Island?
Skull
Yeah.
Island?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
this, and I'm assuming it's all part of the same universe.
It is.
This universe, up until this point, felt a little more adult orientated.
Yeah.
There was something for me, and I don't believe that every film should be catered to me. But I kind of thought this was going to be.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
It could have easily been a PG if it wasn't for a few monsters getting their heads ripped off and whatever. That could have been a PG.
Oh, and just some random shits.
Yeah, people saying shit.
Just to make it a 12A, and it felt very constructive.
But if you're gonna make it for kids,
to do that,
then bring a theme song in, like the original kaiju films. You know, bring in a theme song, do something stupid like that. But it takes itself so seriously as well. That's the problem. Poor fucking Mini Kong deserved better. Some honourable mentions. I have finished reading It Came From the Closet, which I highly recommend to all our listeners if you like what we talk about, as it's a group of essays that are finding the queer within cinema, within horror films, horror cinema.
Okay.
And relating their personal experiences to it, and with some of the most unexpected films too. So yeah, go check that out. Also, Bedroom Eyes was a top tier erotic thriller on Friday.
Yes. So this week's Friday night erotic thriller was Bedroom Eyes. Really sleazy.
Yeah.
Really De Palma-esque.
Yeah.
Weirdly came out the same year as Body Double. Very similar themes.
Same month.
Yeah, same month. So yeah, highly recommend. This is Canadian. A Canadian production.
Yeah.
But yeah, highly recommend finding that. Hopefully it gets some sort of Blu-ray. We watched it on we just recently signed up to Cult Picks. And that's how we watched it. Well, not the best. I think it was directly from an old VHS. Which I don't
That's
mind.
fine.
I quite
That's
like
fine.
that. I mean, that's a good way to watch it. But it'd be nice to get a Blu-ray and see some behind the scenes and all that business.
Do you happen to have any first time watches that I may have already seen that you
Um,
might want to say as a highlight?
no.
No?
Panic Room?
I was going to say, fuck Panic Room stride.
I guess I thoroughly enjoyed Panic Room. I loved, I mean, our two now openly queer
Yeah?
leads in Jodie Foster and Kristen Stewart.
Yeah.
Um, very 2002 in
Yeah.
many ways. Jared Leto, Jodie Foster's hair was very
Yeah.
2002. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. Very, very good.
The first time watches for both of us, the Psycho sequels.
Yeah, so we decided to do a little full day marathon of the Psycho films. Obviously, we've seen
The
Alfred
original.
Hitchcock's original many, many times. Previous podcast episodes, if you want to check that out. But Psycho 2, fucking hell.
Yeah.
I was shocked. I thought it was going to be dire.
Yeah, 23 years later.
I did, yeah.
23 years later,
Mhm.
and someone had the absolute audacity to make a sequel to one of the greatest horror films ever made. And somehow it's incredible. And so is Psycho 3.
Yeah.
Really great 80s slasher films.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
even Psycho 4, I thought that was good as well. It's a solid franchise until you get to obviously the remake, the Gus Van Sant remake. Until that point, it just doesn't miss.
Well, Bates Motel.
We haven't seen it yet.
We need to see
those
Bates
who have
Motel
seen it just
with
doesn't
the
miss.
Yeah, no, those original 4 films, fantastic. Psycho 4, I think, is the weakest in my opinion. But Olivia Hussey as Norma Bates,
Yeah.
with a very,
Fake
very
Dunaway.
questionable accent. Okay.
Giving Mummy
She
Dearest.
tried her best. She did her best, Mummy Dearest. But the first 3, real top tier,
Yeah.
fantastic films. Highly recommend.
Absolutely.
It's weird for me to sit here and say, do you know what film I recommend? Psycho.
I mean, this is what you said about Paranormal Activity, I'm sure.
Oh.
So, yeah, with that being said, we are back with Paranormal Activity Through the Years, Part 2, Back in the Habit. Spoiler warning is now in effect. And last week we kind of forgot to mention something. We are talking Paranormal Activity Through the Years, but we didn't mention Paranormal Activity Tokyo Night.
No.
The Japanese sequel to Paranormal Activity.
Okay.
Which was released, I believe, before Paranormal Activity 2. And if you've not seen it, fast forward a little bit. I'm going to tell you how it ties in. A couple, the girl in the couple, she's in America, visiting America. She runs over Katie Featherston, and the demon passes to her, and she takes her back to Tokyo. And her boyfriend starts filming on a nightly basis. We're not including it in these episodes, but it may get its own episode in the future. Because, I mean, with a plot like that, I think it deserves its own episode during Japanuary.
Have you seen it?
I've seen it. It's
You've
fucking
seen
wild.
it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Is it better than the actual Paranormal Activity 2?
Yes. And no.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Oh.
We'll do it eventually. And also, tying on from the first one we're about to discuss, we also got the Jacob DeGloshi mini web series tie-in with Paranormal Activity 4, released in 2012. Before we get to the film itself, did you enjoy Jacob DeGloshi's...
No, I actually genuinely thought it was really bad.
I added a bit to that sentence.
Oh, sorry.
Did you enjoy it more than Paranormal Activity 4?
No. I wouldn't know. Pretty much on par.
Yeah, Paranormal Activity. So, I mean, that Jacob DeGloshi his daughter is a background character in Paranormal Activity 4, so it's a stretch. But I remember at the time when this was released, he'd post things on like Facebook and Twitter, like, "Oh, I think I've got a ghost in my house," and he'd post these clips. And at first, it wasn't clear it was Paranormal Activity, but then he started showing deleted scenes from 2 and 3, and it's like, "Oh, okay." And yeah.
Did you think it was real?
No, of course not.
No.
We're way past that at this point. I mean, this is directed. Strange to say this, Paranormal Activity 4, directed by Henry Joost and Ariel Schulman, who did Catfish, Secret Headquarters, Nerve, Viral, Project Power, and Paranormal Activity 3, the best one.
Yeah.
How did they do the best one and one of the worst ones? Written by Christopher Landon. As you know already, if you listen to our last episode, the guy behind Freaky, We Have a Ghost, Happy Death Day, Scat Skirter, Zombie Apocalypse, etc., etc. And Chad Feehan co-wrote it. He's done Beneath the Dark, Southland, Rectify, Banshee Origins, Banshee, Ray Donovan, Lawman, Bass Reeves. Maybe Chad's the problem.
Chad.
Well, I mean, the last one was Christopher Landon and the Catfish guys.
Yeah.
So, and that was the best one.
Maybe people getting involved too. I don't know. Probably best.
It's bizarre because this feels like this film just feels like no effort filmmaking. Paranormal Activity 4 is one of the laziest sequels I've ever seen, and it's also one of the most pointless too, because it doesn't really go anywhere. It doesn't. It just kind of happens. And, you know, I've already said the spoiler warning. Paranormal Activity 2 ends with Hunter being kidnapped. Paranormal Activity 4 ends with Hunter being kidnapped. It doesn't go anywhere. That's it.
Yeah.
So what's the point? You could skip this and you could go to marked ones, end at the marked ones, and you won't have missed a thing.
No. My problem is, and I've said it time and time again, is that with the Paranormal Activity films, it feels like they're churning out the same shit anyway.
Yeah.
It feels like the same film. And this one, more than any other, feels so basic and not like a cash in.
Yeah.
Really just like throwing stuff in there. We need a Paranormal Activity 4. Part 3 did really well, so we need a part 4, but we don't really know what we're doing. And I think potentially with Paranormal Activity 3 is where it should have ended.
Yeah.
Because afterwards you do start them throwing shit and hoping it sticks.
Yeah.
And then you get something like this, and it brings in the creepy kids, you know, which I hate in film. You know, it's overdone.
It's
overdone so much.
2012 was prime time for creepy kids.
Oh,
it was every fucking film. Yeah.
I'm sick of seeing these kind of scares. I'm sick of seeing this kind of nighttime found footage photography shit. And by this point, you know, it's not all this crap getting on the internet anyway. Just leave it where it is. Put it on the internet. Have your little internet show with whatever his name is. What did you say? Will Schuster or something? Whatever his name
Jacob
is.
DeCloche.
Okay. Have that and then just be done with it. I genuinely, by the end of watching this and watching them in order this time, I was like, why was that even made?
Ladies, gays, and nays, welcome to Paranormal Activity Through the Years, Part 2. We're very excited to be here.
What is the reason? It's just the same shit. Apart from, spoiler alert, this one has a fucking Xbox Kinect throughout the whole fucking thing.
Okay. Budget $5 million. We'll get to that. Budget $5 million, and it made $142.8 million worldwide, so it's already dropping down at this point.
Rightfully so.
This is the one where a fight broke out in the cinema when I watched it. There was like
a little entertainment. They would have given it an extra star.
During the levitating scene, someone just kept talking and so, you shut the fuck up, and then like they just started fighting in the cinema. Oh my god. Paranormal Activity 4, guys, come on. Let's talk about who's in it.
In a section we like to call, Hey, I Know You.
We do.
Yeah, we kind of do. Yeah.
We do.
At least one.
So, oh my god, this film did something good because it gave us Catherine Newton.
Right.
Who stars as Alex Nelson, the legendary star of Lisa Frankenstein, Detective Pikachu, Abigail being released this week even, whenever you listen to this, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, poor thing. Big Little Lies, Freaky, Ladybird, Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and more.
I mean, technically, Bad Teacher gave us Catherine Newton. That was
Okay.
her first role.
This gave us Catherine Newton in horror.
Yeah,
this gave us Screen Queen Catherine Newton.
Yeah, so this was before. Yeah, this was before the others, but yeah, when year was Bad Teacher? The year before.
Yeah.
So this gave us Catherine Newton in horror. Screen Queen.
It did.
Catherine Newton.
And you know what? I think she's the best thing about it.
I agree, because she's Catherine Newton.
Yeah.
I hazard to guess that if it wasn't Catherine Newton and we had exactly the same performance,
like in The Ghost Dementia.
Yeah, we might not. I mean, it's only a second film, bless her.
Yeah, I think she does a good job.
Credit where it's due. She leads the film, which is a tough task for any young actress.
15-year-old leading 15 the
years old leading a film. You know, good for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt Shively plays Ben, her Izzy or Isn't boyfriend. Her 17-year-old Izzy or Isn't boyfriend. A bit creepy. He was in Santa Clarita Diet, the Purge TV show.
Was he 17 in the film?
In real life. I don't know about in the film, but in real life he was 17. They don't kiss at any point, thankfully. The Real O'Neills, Zoe 101. Has anyone looked more Zoe 101 than Matt Shively?
No, he looks very Zoe 101.
Teen Wolf.
Oh my god, he really does look so Zoe 101.
American Housewife, Power Rangers, The Wedding Year, Summer of 8, and more.
Now, I remember him from The Real O'Neills.
Okay.
So he played the Martha Plimpton's son. He was the older son who was a little dopey. Again, very sort of Nickelodeon, Disney Channel esque, and his younger brother was gay and trying to deal with it in a Irish American family.
Yeah.
So I quite liked that show. Actually, it didn't last very long, but yeah, it was all right.
This film is very Disney Channel and Nickelodeon coded. Paranormal Activity 4. There's the whole dynamic of Alex and Ben and them being the ones to investigate it with the creepy little mischievous brother and his creepy little mischievous friend. It's kind of like, yeah, this is definitely, if they said fuck a few less times, could have been a 12.
Yeah, and the idea that the parents are very absent.
Yeah.
They really have nothing to do with the film itself. It's very teen orientated.
Yeah.
And then creepy kids added on top.
So Stephen Dunham plays Doug Nelson. He was in The Mummy, Catch Me If You Can, Get Smart, Monster-in-Law, Anger Management, Traffic, What I Like About You, Hot Properties, and more. And Alexandra Lee plays his wife, Holly Nelson. She was in What I Like About You, LA Law, What Women Want, Party of Five, Shop Girl, Momentum, Push Nevada, Kiss My Act, My Teacher's Wife, and more. Real married couple. Real life married couple. And sadly, Stephen Dunham did die shortly before the film was theatrically released, which surprises me. I'm surprised that he died in September, a month before the film was released, because I thought the way he dies in this film, I thought that's a stuntman. They couldn't get him. I thought he had died before, but no, that was just a really lazy death scene for him, which is such a shame. This is his final film. Really tragic. But we do have to say, considering they're a real life married couple, you never would fucking know from this film.
You wouldn't know. Not a single ounce of chemistry between them, I have to say.
And I guess that's the point. I guess they are, an arguing.
Oh, I suppose.
Troubled, broken home.
Yeah.
But at the same time, even that's not believable. Even that's not believable. So maybe they had a really good marriage, and that's why they couldn't make it believe that they hated each other. And
Alexandra Lee, I was living for her, I have to say, because she looked like Lillian Garcia.
She was giving housewives the house down.
If anyone knows their wrestling, they know Lillian Garcia. She absolutely looked like her. It was so camp.
Do you not think she was giving housewives?
Yeah, she was giving house. They're all giving housewives. Let's be honest. These fucking massive houses that these people are in. They remind me of the Housewives.
Well, the dad's always away for business in this one, so don't know what he does.
Definitely. It's definitely what's the names? Dorit and
PK.
PK's always out of the country.
Dorita go.
PK's always...
Imagine if Dorita was haunted by a ghost. She'd gone about it for fucking months.
PK's always out of the country with business. As far as I know, the only person he represents is Boy George. And let's be fair, Boy George can't be that booked and busy. Well, let's be fair.
He's doing a terrible job of representing. And of course, we're not going to give you what she's in. We've already done it enough. Katie Featherston's back as Katie. God bless her.
God bless you, Katie. You've been in each one of these films. And so far.
Soon.
Yeah. Although she wasn't in the Facebook.
She wasn't
in the...
No.
In the Facebook videos, the Will Schuster saga.
No. But yeah, she's back and she is full Michael Myers at this point. But yeah, let's talk about our first. Have you got anyone else?
No. Let's get this show on the road.
Let's talk about our first feature presentation.
My sister did good. Hunter.
She killed her own sister. They've never found her or him.
It's the new kid from across the street. I've never met his mom. Did you hear that? Can you tell me who you were talking to? Nobody. What is that?
Looks like a triangle with a circle in it.
It says the ritual requires a sacrifice. Hello?
Paranormal Activity 4. Rated R. In theaters October 19th.
Yeah, so we start on October 9th, 2006. Christy Ray and her husband Daniel, he's back. But he's dead! Immediately dead. They were killed by Christy's demonically possessed sister Katie, who then abducts Christy's 1-year son Hunter. We get a title card telling us the police are still unable to find Katie and Hunter to that date.
Wow, thank you for the recap.
And it's funny. It's funny that it shows you that clip at the start, considering that's where this film ends.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, that's true. I would have liked it to be like, the Friday the 13th recaps.
Yeah.
I would have liked that.
Well, the perfect opportunity here, obviously, in those Jacob DeGloshi tapes, there's a scene where he's watching and you can hear Ali coming home from a school trip and finding her parents' bodies. Bitch, just include that in there. Spice it up a bit, you know?
True.
Where is Ali in this film? Because, spoiler, she comes back in the next one. Where is she in this film?
This is why this is just thrown together.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Like a little side project.
Yeah. Because you've been, at this point, you'd been waiting 2 years to find out what happened after the end of Paranormal Activity 2, because of the last one being a prequel.
Oh my god, 2 years.
Well, Paranormal Activity 3 in the middle.
Crazy. Imagine waiting that long.
Shut the fuck up. And it just doesn't answer that, really. So, in October 2011, Alex Nelson is living in a wealthy suburb of Henderson, Nevada, with her father Doug, mother Holly, and 6-year-old brother Wyatt. They have new neighbours moving in across the street with a little boy named Robbie who wears socks and sandals and acts a little sketchy because he talks like he's a 60-year-old man. He watches the family at random times, including at Wyatt's football game, and he's named after Robbie Mannheim, a child that in 1959 was an alleged victim of possession and had an exorcism to save his life. I believe the kid that The Exorcist is based on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We get a lot of classic family banter at the beginning, don't we?
It's Halloween.
Yeah.
The best scare of the film is the Scarecrow.
Yeah. Doug obviously is not a fan of Alex's Halloween costume.
No.
He asks, "Where's the rest of it? Do you not want to wear pants?" Oh. Classic family action at the the soccer match, excuse me, as we should probably say. When Doug misses Wyatt playing due to work commitments.
Just like Jingle All the Way.
Oh, just these classic family dynamics. They have this big, lovely house, apparently on only one income, but everyone moans because Doug just isn't there for the soccer game.
Catherine Newton does handstand though. That's a bit slay.
That was really
Cartwheel.
Whatever it was, you know. I mean, her hands were on the ground, her feet in the air.
Yeah, go on, girl.
Alex
throws a party, and her awkward boyfriend or best friend, which we never really find out.
It's her boyfriend.
Okay, well,
I think it's her boyfriend.
Her 17-year-old boyfriend Ben makes awkward moves on her, but is cock blocked by Robbie when they find him in Alex's treehouse, and Alex takes him home. And Ben literally says, "Thanks for cock blocking me."
Exactly. So again, every man in these films.
Yeah.
And I'm for it because I hate men. Every man is a piece of shit in these films, so it's still keeping with the tradition.
Yeah.
Of paranormal.
Yeah.
Oh no! Apart from
Dennis
was
Hector and Jesse in the next film.
yes, but so far, part 4, Dennis has been
Yeah.
the only one that I've liked.
That's true.
Um,
Alex sings a song about Robbie. Very Juno, very post Juno world. And tells Ben how his mum works a lot and how Robbie used to sneak into his old neighbour's house too. So I wonder who Robbie's mum is.
who's Robbie's mum?
We'll find out a little later. Wow. Technically, we don't. We don't technically because he's a kidnapped kid.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But do we discuss Robbie now, or do we discuss Robbie when his mum's revealed?
When his mum's revealed. Okay.
So Ben unsuccessfully tries to get Alex to flash him on webcam. What's he like? But she refuses to and starts telling him about how her parents hate each other, but they're interrupted by emergency services arriving over the road to take Robbie's mum to the hospital. The next day, Robbie comes to stay with the Nelsons until she's out of hospital. Get to fuck. Why on earth is this family taking in this random kid who just moved in a few days ago?
Exactly.
Fuck off. Fuck off. So stupid. There's no reason for Robbie to be in this film.
No, and there's spoiler alert, but it turns out that a big plot point is based on the fact that they would take him in.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, it's a big risk. It's a big risk.
Yeah.
And it's
and
very
kind of convoluted, and I'm
elaborate.
not sure. And what's the point? What I don't
remember now, for a little later on, we see Robbie's mum
getting
taken into hospital. There's a conversation between Alex and her mum where she's like, I saw her being taken into hospital, to the ambulance.
Yeah.
She got taken away. Also, Robbie comes over the next day. So where the fuck was he that night?
Yeah.
What's that about?
Yeah. And he makes his way over. He's got socks and sandals on.
Hideous.
He's got a 100-year-old bear. And he's got a fork that can predict the future.
It's also 100 years old. I take it back. I love Robbie. This is great. He shakes Wyatt's hand like an old man. It's kind of comical, and it could have been fun because this is so stupid.
Yeah.
This child acting like an old man and having 100-year-old items in his bag. Stupid.
Yeah.
And the actor actually improvised those scenes about the 100-year-old stuff. That's fucking funny. There's something he says coming up that had been stitches.
It's true.
Genuinely,
so the kid improvised all of it.
Some of the stuff, some of it was improvised. But it's kind of like, okay, that's a little camp. It's actually a little camp. But also he doesn't need to exist. And I don't think it was meant to be camp. I think this kid is genuinely meant to be creepy.
Well, I think he is meant to be...
That haircut also.
A huge red herring. I think he's meant to be a massive red herring.
Yeah.
He's meant to be a creepy kid. He's meant to, make us think that he's going to turn at any second, like killing the family.
Yeah, because you know who we're meant to think he is.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're meant to think he's Hunter. Because he kind of has the hair that the baby had, actually. It's kind of believable that he'd be Hunter.
But he comes across more like the yodeling kid.
He does. Ben records his and Alex's video chat and leaves it recording whilst Alex sleeps, which leads to him catching Robbie crawling into bed with her and putting his arm around her. Now, hang on a minute here. Ben recorded Alex sleeping. Ben recorded Alex sleeping and actually showed this to her.
Yeah.
And she still has him in her house.
Yeah.
She still hangs out with him.
Records all of their webcam chats as well.
Yeah.
Keeps them on his computer.
Yeah.
And keeps it going. Obviously hacked into it in some way.
Yeah.
Sees Robbie getting into bed with Alex at one point.
Do you know what's more creepy out of the two things? Ben recording her.
Yeah, I mean, it's all creepy. But she just kind of like, oh my God, you've been recording me. Oh, laughs it off, and then that's fine, just cracks on.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
It's like, girl, that is a red flag. That is a gigantic red
huge
flag.
red flag.
Like, he keeps trying to get you to flash him on webcam, and he's recording it.
Yeah.
Come on.
They're both, I have to say, they are both quite obnoxious. They are annoying teenagers. And I'm confused because surely he doesn't live that far away.
No.
And he is always round the house.
Yeah.
But then whenever he's not in the home, they're talking on webcam.
Yeah.
I'm like, ew.
Who has that much to say?
I mean, and like, they're teenagers.
Yeah.
It ain't even gonna last. You're not gonna get married. Do your homework.
Like, yeah.
Spoiler alert, at least one of you is dead by the end of the film. So maybe you should have focused more on your schoolwork.
So, something that Chris is a big fan of. Robbie, Wyatt, and Toby are playing Xbox Connect. When Ben shows them and Alex that with the lights off and night vision switched on the camera, you can see motion sensor tracking dots. Now, in a 2012 interview with MTV News, Henry Juice spoke about the use of Xbox Connect and said that started because we were looking around and thinking how about how many cameras there are just around your house. Laptop built-in cameras. The Connect is also a camera itself. 2 cameras there alone. So it started, we were thinking, oh, maybe some of the filming could be done with a Connect. And then we started researching what it's capable of and found this video on YouTube where someone was like, do you actually know how this thing works? And how it projects the grid of dots on the room that's completely invisible to the naked eye. But if you have the right camera, you can see it. So we were like, oh my God, that has to be in the film. That's so crazy looking. It's very Paranormal Activity because it's like, there's this stuff going on in a house, going on in this room that you can't see. And now we have this little bit of a window into what those things look like.
Oh, great. It looks stupid.
It does.
It really does.
Yeah. I
So it's not like an advert for Xbox Connect.
No, it's just the gimmick. This is just the gimmick. I remember I had Xbox Connect and I tried seeing if that's true. Like, I couldn't see it myself.
But you don't have a night.
But no, there was an app on my phone. There was an app on my phone, and it was I couldn't see it. So you have to have a very special kind of camera to do this. But just no. Is this one of the worst gimmicks in the franchise?
I just don't think it looks good, and I know they thought it would look really cool. And do you know what? Try it out. You know, try something new, try something different, but also be able to admit when it doesn't work out.
Yeah,
and it didn't.
Because there's an excuse to bring CGI into it as well, because you get the CGI Toby of all shapes and sizes, and it just looks stupid. It's like when you get to Ghost Dimension, one of the worst things about it, and there's a lot of bad things about it, one of the worst things about it is that you see Toby.
Yeah.
That's never been the point.
You don't need to see
That's
Toby.
never been the point.
You know, did we ever see Mr. What's his name from The Exorcist?
Oh,
what's he?
Fuck. What is his name?
Mr.
Captain Howdy.
Captain Howdy. Captain Howdy.
No.
You know,
exactly.
you don't get to see Captain Howdy. You're not meant to. It's creepy.
Yeah.
You know, it's creepier that way.
Well,
because it takes it from the moment you see Toby.
Yeah.
It becomes it stops the film from being a creepy kid film.
Yeah.
Because the kid's not the creepy part now. It's this Toby.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay, so it's putting the Paranormal Activity part back into Paranormal Activity. So I get it. But why have you built up this creepy kid character when, you know, it's this Toby that's now the issue?
Yeah.
Because you've shown us Toby.
Exactly.
You've shown him, so we know that it exists. Toby's this sort of ghost or whatever it is. And so it's like, okay, so what, the kids just... Are we on the kid's side now? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Is the kid just a bit weird rather than being
I think it's the idea that he's brought the ghost with him.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're trying to go for. But yeah. Robbie, Ben's telling them about it, and he's like, "Oh, something kick ass." And Robbie, like, "Watch your language." I always, for years, I thought. Well, I mean, I've only seen this like 3-4 times, but
Why?
I watched it at the cinema. I bought it on Blu-ray. I watched it then. I watched it with you for the first time, and then this time. I always thought that was the mum from another room. The fact that it's Robbie, that's really fucking funny.
But I do think maybe it was ad-libbed because everyone acts kind of awkward after it.
Yeah.
Like they weren't expecting it. Like, okay.
So hats off to this kid. He really did a good job here.
He was trying his best.
Yeah. Gave us some funny stuff. They spot whilst Alex, Wyatt, and Ben are playing something on the Connect where they're dancing to Dragula by Rob Zombie, and Wyatt face plants the floor. They spot a ghostly figure sitting next to Robbie whilst looking back at the footage. That night, Alex finds Robbie talking to himself in the living room, and something on the Connect flies past him. And her and Ben try showing Doug, but he's like, "Oh wow, this is a great fake, guys. This is really." It's like come on, you're not that stupid. Also, you'll notice we haven't mentioned the parents a lot in this.
We haven't.
They fucking do nothing.
They do fuck all.
And it's really weird. The mum, her dialogue, it feels like she's whispering. Like the sound design is really
like
off.
her mic's turned down.
Yeah. So you can't actually hear. I don't know what she sounds like. You can't hear what she's saying. It's really weird.
Yeah. So let's discuss the parents for a little bit, because we've discussed with the 3 previous films how we think they're a metaphor or analogy for. And I believe this continues, and I think it continues throughout the whole series. Actually,
Ghost Dimension.
Oh shit! Yeah. That's an analogy for the series itself, where a big hole, and they shove their heads right up it. But yeah, so I think this film, Part 4, is about dealing with the breakup of your parents, your parents' marriage, dealing with divorce, being young, and having to deal with, and it can be very traumatic for kids to have to be around that. And it's why the parents, they bicker a lot, and Alex speaks a lot about the arguments that she has to witness, the awkwardness, all that stuff. And that's the kind of thing that sticks with people. Yeah. And that is really interesting.
It is.
And I wish they played more into that. You know, I'm assuming that's what they were going for. Yeah. That's what I decided to take from this film. And it's why, spoiler alert, I didn't give it half a star on Letterboxd. Because I like this aspect. I like that they've gone for this. It doesn't work.
It's a classic thing within horror. You know?
Yeah.
It's always
true.
You know, Nightmare on Elm Street, I mean, Friday the 13th, Halloween to a certain extent. You know, the parents, where are they? Whilst all this is going on, where are the parents?
When you bring kids into these things, and I am quoting probably directly from Ghostwatch. Yeah. They tend to latch on to vulnerable kids or teens. Yeah. And so this is a perfect example of that. If it was latching on to Alex, who is young, you know, going through puberty and dealing with the divorce or the breakup of her parents' marriage. Yeah. You know, it happened in Ghostwatch, you know, and they explained it. And, you know, Conjuring 2, you know, all that stuff. So it doesn't actually break new ground necessarily, but it's an interesting aspect. And it just doesn't go fully in on that. No. And I wish it did. I wish if you'd gotten rid of the 2 younger kids or just kept the brother. Well, yeah. And then had this aspect and had more of Alex dealing with this and making her more of a fully well-rounded character, I would have really appreciated that and really felt for her, and we could have looked at this from a really interesting angle. But the problem is you have to put it into what is now becoming a very convoluted plot point between all 4 films, because it was never intended to be a plot point between all 4, 5, 6 7 films or whatever, you know, so it gets lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
I also find the fact that they, number one, leave the Xbox Connect permanently on really annoys me.
Yeah, we're about to get to that.
Yeah, because I get told off for leaving stuff on like that.
Well, as you should.
as I should.
Alex and Ben set up laptop cameras all over the house.
They do.
And leave the Connect on at all times. After many strange occurrences go on, and they escalate into several cars parked outside a neighbour's house, and objects such as chandeliers, Wyatt's Danny Torrance bike thing, chairs, and kitchen knives becoming sentient. Now, they said the directors defended it, saying anything could go on behind, and no one would necessarily know unless the person on the other end of a video chat told you it was behind you. It just seemed like a really fun way to carry a camera and film yourself, because otherwise there's no other way to shoot close-ups in a paranormal film.
So she's just holding the laptop
yeah,
the whole time.
Yeah.
So
usually
awkward.
You're filming forward, so this way you can actually get a reaction shot. Now, obviously, they do have a handheld camera as well.
Yes.
But they set up secret cameras around his house. First problem with this is you're spying on your family.
Yeah. You should not be asking your 17-year-old boyfriend to set up a camera in your younger brother's bedroom.
No.
Let's make that
especially
abundantly
when
clear.
they are looking after another child that isn't even their own.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is, if Katie was of sound mind,
yeah,
when she returned and she found out that this was happening, they would go to prison.
Yeah. It's honestly bizarre, because he has all the passwords and all the login details to watch this footage, Ben does. And it's...
Would you just call me?
Ben does. Anyway, but it's also in the kitchen. There's obviously Alex's bedroom. I'm sure Ben insisted on that. Not the parents' room, but then everywhere else, like the whole place. There's a scene where a child is literally in a bath and the camera is still recording.
Yes.
It's fucking
it is
weird.
really, really weird.
It's so weird that they are secretly doing this without letting the parents know at all.
Yeah.
Honestly, there's so many problems with this. It's so flawed. So many things to say about it.
No one closes their laptop.
That's my other thing. The laptop remains open throughout the whole film.
Yeah.
Every laptop in that house. You're telling me no one in that house closed a laptop lid?
Exactly. The dust and the debris that must have built up on those laptops, ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
It's flawed. It's very flawed.
Yeah.
And I understand it's difficult to do anything new with these kind of found footage films, particularly as it goes on and technology changes, and you know, the idea of somebody constantly filming with a big bulky camera, it doesn't quite work anymore. But that's when you edit films, and this is when you only give us what we need to have, and you don't have to have these tedious moments.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean? You know, you can create, and again, and you're going to be so fed up of me saying this, but it's another Paranormal Activity film that didn't need to be feature length.
Yeah, so this one I would say has the most filler scares.
Absolutely.
It's a stretch to even call them scares.
Yeah.
It's all filler. There's so much filler in it.
Well, one of them comes up next. So, seemingly home alone, Alex is almost hit by a falling chandelier before Robbie appears saying he doesn't like you watching us. I did laugh because I thought, oh, this poor, boring, rich white family almost getting hit by their chandelier.
One of many chandeliers.
Could you imagine? Oh dear, I hope my chandelier doesn't fall on me from my incredibly high ceilings.
Yeah.
Sorry. I sometimes I need a relatability. If I'm 4 films into this and you want me to care, I need some characters I can relate to, because you're serving up the same dish.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna need some, a different kind of seasoning or something. Do you understand what I mean? I need a different sauce or something that I can really latch on to,
Yeah.
because you're actually just giving me the kind of same really boring characters and the same really boring plain houses. Every wall is beige in these houses.
Yeah.
At least the chandelier's a little exciting, but come on, chandelier. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry this is happening to you.
Wyatt tells Alex about Robbie's imaginary friend Toby, and Alex finds Wyatt and Robbie in a closet where Robbie has drawn an ancient Hittite symbol on his back, the same one that they drew in a sandpit earlier, a symbol that would prepare a victim for demonic possession. It's the triangle with a circle in it from the previous film. Robbie informs Ben that he does not like him, and when Ben asks who, Robbie tells him he'll find out. And Alex and Ben do a quick Google and learn that the possession ritual requires a virgin blood sacrifice.
Yeah, just a quick Google. It's obviously changing times. They don't just first book at the library.
No.
Now Google has all the info for them. Just good.
Holly starts chopping up some bell peppers whilst Chef Mary on a YouTube recipe video talks for so long about how great bell peppers are. I love bell peppers. Bell peppers can go with anything. You know the great thing about bell peppers? They're sweet. They're not even spicy. Bell peppers are so sweet. If you want to add a sweet bit to your dish, add some bell peppers. She goes on for so long about bell peppers.
I don't understand. So Holly is cutting up some bell peppers. But Mary, cooking with Mary,
Chef Mary,
she's not actually telling Holly how to cut up bell peppers.
No, she's just talking.
So why is she watching this video? So she already knows how to cut up bell peppers, yeah? But she needs somebody to tell her interesting facts about bell peppers.
Of course.
Wow, she's good. Okay.
Toby then, whilst Wyatt distracts Holly, Toby snatches Holly's knife and leaves it on the ceiling for so long, till a few nights later when it falls and Doug finds it. I think this is a good scene, mainly because when I first watched this, I was kind of like, that's going to fall on his head.
Yeah.
That's absolutely going to fall on his head. That's how he's going to get killed.
We're hoping for that.
But yeah, no such luck. It's just, it does fall, but it's entertaining. Yeah, so after some spooky goings on, Robbie takes Wyatt over to his house, and Alex finds him there with Robbie's mum.
Oh.
Who happens to be Katie from the previous film.
What a revelation.
She tells Alex how Wyatt looks just like his mum. Alex later reveals that Wyatt was adopted.
Oh.
So.
What a reveal.
Now's the time to discuss Robbie's presence and his connection to this whole franchise. Katie Featherston isn't his mum.
No.
So Wyatt reveals that Katie told him that he and Robbie were adopted and that his other family needs him back.
Yes.
So, Robbie, we're going to assume, is another kidnapped child from the midwives.
Yeah, I would assume so, yes.
Okay. I don't want to look for the logic in a franchise called Paranormal Activity, where many silly things happen, and the whole thing is based around demons and ghosts, which don't exist. So, fair enough. But there's so many questions this raises about...
Yes.
And the thing is, she's brought Robbie in to lure Wyatt back to her, because, spoiler alert, Wyatt is Hunter. So that night, Wyatt argues with an unseen, unheard presence about his true name, declaring, "My name's not Hunter," as Toby is seen walking up behind him. Looks stupid. So this has been Hunter the whole time. You think it's going to be Robbie, because he clearly moved in with Katie over the road, and he's all creepy and everything, but it's not. He had his name changed, and he was adopted by the Nelsons. So.
For what purpose?
To give him a new home. As in the name change.
No. So why did Hunter
Yeah.
need to be adopted, but Robbie could live a normal life as Katie's kid? Why couldn't Hunter just live as Katie's kid?
This is another thing that raises questions. I mean, obviously, I suppose there is the fact that on security cameras, she was filmed kidnapping him
Yes.
and murdering his parents.
Yes.
So there is that. Now, what happened between that point and where we are in Paranormal Activity 4, who the fuck knows? Like, how did they get Hunter back from Katie? What happened there?
Yes.
Where has she been? Where has she been hiding out? How did she get Robbie? It's so stupid. It's so stupid. And the only reason Robbie's in this film is because it looks good on the marketing to have another creepy kid there. And it leaves you questioning which one's going to be Hunter.
And for the red herring.
But realistically, they could have just explained that they managed to get Hunter away from Katie. And then they could have had it as like a home invasion film. She could have broke in and tried to kidnap him. Something simple like that. You know, have these things occurring, have her maybe hiding out in the house. That'd have been a great twist. Something along those lines. But having her really elaborately pretending to need to go to hospital, being taken away in an ambulance, and then sending her kid over to their house to lure him to her. Oh my God, that is so elaborate.
It doesn't make any sense because also with the cars there at 2 a.m. in the morning, we're under the impression that is the midwives.
Yeah.
So the midwives are protecting Katie because I don't think, obviously, Katie is wanted for murder.
Yeah.
So she's not buying her own house or signing up for a rental.
Well, apparently in this
with
franchise,
her real name,
she just moves around like with no problems whatsoever. Because in the Ghost Dimension, spoiler alert for that one, she sells a couple of fucking house.
Yeah.
She acts as a fucking estate agent. So in this one, like...
But so she's being protected by the midwives.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming someone within the midwives is protecting her and has bought this house or signed up for the rental for her and Robbie.
Yeah.
Therefore, if they're protecting her and have protected her for many years, why did they not just have Hunter stay with Katie? Why all of this convoluted mess involving Alex and her parents and Robbie and Wyatt/Hunter? Why all that crap when Robbie should have just been Hunter anyway?
Yeah.
We shouldn't have had all of this.
Yeah, because then what you could have had is you could have had neighbours that had weird things going on since these people moved in, and then they realise eventually, oh shit, that's the woman that murdered her sister, her boyfriend, and her brother-in-law.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. Something like that. You know, there's so many ways they could have gone with it, but somehow they went with the most convoluted, stupid way.
Yeah.
Like, Holly, the mum of the family, she said she spoke to Katie. She said she spoke to her multiple times.
Yeah.
Bitch, how did you not know that this woman had murdered a bunch of people?
Yeah.
Like, her face should have been everywhere. It was caught on camera.
Let's be honest, it's not like she's gone to any effort to make herself look different.
She's not disguised herself at all.
I'm not being funny. In the midwives, you must have a few fucking hairdressers, someone who could do her hair a little different, make her blonde. Do you know what I mean? She looks exactly the same as she did in the last 3 films.
Kudos to Katie Featherston for never aging.
Yeah.
But also, you know, she looks the exact same. There's no
exactly
denying
the
that that's her.
same.
She isn't hiding it at all. Like, even Alex is on the internet, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
They have 1,000 laptops in that family. Alex is tech savvy. She's always on the internet. How does she not know who that woman is?
But how far from the setting is this? So of the first 3 films.
So this is set in 2011, isn't it?
Geographically.
So Carlsbad, isn't it? The original films.
Yeah.
Are set in Carlsbad.
And where's this set?
So if we look at Carlsbad, distance to Nevada.
So it's a different state. Is it California and Nevada?
It's a 10-hour drive.
10-hour drive. So that's fairly long, but not. It's not like Pennsylvania to Oregon. It's not that far. It's not the complete other side of the country, but it's a fair distance. But you probably have police in Nevada who are aware of this fugitive.
She got taken to hospital. Emergency services took this woman away, and no one there knew who she was.
No one thought, well, you look like that person.
They didn't do papers on it. They didn't do a background check.
Yeah,
you know,
the news. You look like that woman from the news who murdered her sister and her brother-in-law and kidnapped a child.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have this random child who's about the same age as that kid that was kidnapped? It's fucking stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, and exactly, and like no one has heard of this kid being missing. It's Robbie. No one's heard of him.
But this is what happens when one film becomes 4 films.
Yeah.
Becomes 5, 6 films. When it's not meant to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, obviously with something, say the obvious example, Star Wars.
Yeah.
The original trilogy, as far as I know, was meant to be an original trilogy.
Yeah.
It's a story arc from beginning to end. Whereas this was never meant to be. And you have, surprisingly, Christopher Landon involved in how many of them? 3? 3 of the 4?
4, I think.
All 4 of them?
2, 3, 4 marked ones and next of kin.
But so even with that consistency of a writer, it gets lost.
But this is what's so frustrating. This film should have been Ali looking for Hunter.
Yeah.
That's what it should have been. That's what this film should have been.
But where is your paranormal in Paranormal Activity?
And tied it in with someone else.
Because this is witchcraft at this point.
Yeah.
This isn't Paranormal Activity. This isn't your ghosts. This isn't anything like that. The moment that Katie became possessed at the end, it became something different. This isn't a bump in the night sort of stuff. So they're trying to keep this bump in the night ghostly presence, which is why you get Toby. And it worked in part 3 because it led up to part 1, because part 3 was a prequel. Yeah, that's why it worked. But by this point, you're shoehorning in this paranormal part of Paranormal Activity, because what it's actually become is demonic spirit witchcraft activity.
Which it does fall into paranormal.
To a certain degree, but not traditionally as we saw the first film. The first film was, oh my god, what's that noise in my house? Oh my god, there's footprints. There's a ghostly presence. In this, you're forced, your hand's kind of forced, and you have to reveal the ghostly presence, because we're 4 films in. And to one up part 3, which had Toby, which was creepy because we never saw Toby, you're kind of like, well, I suppose we need to kind of reveal Toby now. Again, it's one of these things where, and I kind of think it's the same with Saw, that franchise. You get to the point where, okay, you've written yourself into a corner now. And in an effort to not give us exactly the same shit to the letter, you're giving us a load of shit.
And the problem is,
you know, I'm whatever you're selling, I'm not buying anymore. But
the problem is, as well, is they're reluctant to answer questions. Now, the tagline, one of the taglines for the Ghost Dimension was, all the answers will be revealed. Spoiler alert, that's not true.
No.
That's really not true. What, Katie works as a fucking real estate agent now? Oh, okay, that answers that question. That question that's been going, you know, her story arc that's been going for fucking 5 films by that point. But this is the thing. These films, they raise questions. Intriguing questions with the first 3. I mean, especially when you get to 3 and it ends the way it does. And obviously, as a fan of the franchise, you want to know, okay, what happened to Hunter? Where did that ending go? That was the biggest question of the franchise. And this film refuses to answer that. Whilst having the character in the film.
Because I don't feel like the writers ever knew. Really.
But surely it can't be that difficult. Surely it cannot be that difficult. I mean, there are so many options they could have gone with here. And instead we just get this.
But then if they gave all the answers in part 4,
Yeah.
after part 3 made a heap ton of money,
Yeah.
then
This
no
is the
one would
thing.
go see
This
part
is why
5.
this is why they didn't want to answer the questions. This is
Uh-huh.
why, because if they
Money.
did that, they can't make another film. That's why the Ghost Dimension, despite being the final film, never answered all the questions. And this is why Next of Kin came along and didn't even address the questions.
No.
So as the month progresses, there are even more unusual activities, such as Wyatt being dragged and held under the water in his bath for a prolonged period of time, and Wyatt going in a trance and levitating Alex while she's tanked up on sleeping pills that her mum slipped into her drink.
Yeah. Holly randomly slipping Alex in some sleeping pills. Makes absolutely no sense, because I was never under the impression, or the audience was never under the impression, that Alex had trouble sleeping.
No, it's given Nightmare on Elm Street. It's given Ronnie Blakely. She's sitting there on a sofa with a glass of wine. Like, yeah, I gave her some sleeping pills. Yeah, I knocked her out. And the dad's like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Why would you slip pills into her drink?" I think the bath scene is quite creepy, but it's, again, the creepier part is the fact that it's being filmed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just weird. It's just, that's one thing that's difficult to look past with this film. The whole time, none of this, we shouldn't be seeing any of this, because we shouldn't be spying on this family. It's so weird.
Yeah, because we're not. So with part 3, a lot of it was us watching along with the characters, wasn't it? Dennis specifically, watching it back and seeing his reaction to it, which made more sense. But here we're just bystanders in the whole thing. So when you have like the bath scene, it's incredibly creepy.
Yeah.
But in the sense of, I don't feel like I should be watching this.
No. And
I don't feel like this should have been recorded, because it's recorded because someone, okay, so it's Alex, who's a member of the family, who's the main character in the film. Her and her boyfriend have tapped into it. But I feel like in terms of the film, as well, it just feels creepy. It feels really out of place. And I don't feel any of the tension. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because it, number one, why would they kill Wyatt anyway?
Yeah.
Because Wyatt is Hunter. I thought they needed Hunter.
Yeah.
So why would they kill him anyway? So I know the kid ain't going to be killed.
Mm-hmm.
And number 2, I'm too busy kind of being really creeped out by the idea of this scene to be scared for his safety.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And this point now, when the things get more extreme and more over the top, Alex conveniently can't log into her laptop to watch the footage back.
Yeah.
How convenient.
But part of the creepiness in part 3, and some, and forgive me, the films do tend to merge into one. But seeing the characters watching back what happened to them without their knowledge is really creepy.
Yeah.
It's a great way of building the tension, seeing their reaction. But we're just kind of, I don't know who we're meant to represent.
Yeah.
Because if we're not Alex and Ben, because they can't see the footage. At no point are any of the characters seeing anything of what's going. They don't know about the knife that's in their ceiling, because their ceiling's so high that they can't see it stuck there for a very long fucking time.
Yeah.
So who are we meant to be? And then it just feels very dry because of that. Maybe a weird word to use, but it feels, I feel separated from the film. I feel separated from this family. I feel separated from the action. I'm not really getting to see how they feel about what's happening. Because, again, until they die, the parents are kind of ignoring the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Until it happens to them. And then still it's like, they're just dopey.
Yeah.
Dopey is the word
Yeah.
I'm looking for.
One night, Alex is locked in the garage, and the family car starts itself, filling the garage with gas, whilst a possessed Katie sneaks into the house and tells Wyatt she'll wait until he's ready. Alex manages to smash the car window and drive it through the garage door. I think it's a good scene. I think it's the perhaps the big set piece of the film. I think you always have one. Usually involves dragging, but
Yeah.
I think this one. I think it was Bloody Mary in the third one with the room shaking.
Yeah.
I think for this one it's the garage scene, and it's it's actually despite this character not being the most interesting, it's still a little intense. It's yeah.
It's interesting in the sense of her being in real danger and it being a little different. It's like, oh, that's actually a bit creepy, making it look like she's committed suicide. Again, I think keeping into the trauma that she's having from witnessing the breakup of her parents.
Yeah.
Again, very, very interesting. The car is, am I misremembering? But everyone's in the house.
No, the parents have gone out, so they've got two cars.
Oh,
It's the second
okay. Because I was like,
no, she was babysitting at this point.
oh, okay. So there wasn't anyone there to hear her.
No,
The car running.
No, Katie's
like,
there trying to kidnap one.
I was like, again, I was like, this house is so big that she is screaming for help, and this car is revving, and no one can hear it because their house is so big. They're on the 3rd floor, on the 2nd wing, and they're like, oh no, can't hear that. Oh, they just have 2 cars. Okay.
Of course.
Probably
got more. Just out of frame.
Maybe.
Alex tries to show her parents the footage, but it's been mysteriously and conveniently erased.
Oh no. Did we talk about her levitating?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, we said it happened.
But... Oh, okay. No, I just haven't noted, like, oh yeah, excuse me, yeah. With the levitating part, sorry, just to go back. Why did the sound of Alex's quilt being pulled off the bed make such a loud thudding noise?
It's pulled off with force.
It was. I'm sorry to go back.
Again, I'm really, going back to that scene though, it's a cool scene. It was obviously using all the marketing, but a cool scene. But why is it happening?
What was the reason?
Because it cuts to the next day. She's just asleep, and the duvet's been put back over it.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
so she didn't even know. But nobody's seeing this footage.
But nobody's seeing it.
We're the only ones seeing this footage, so it doesn't mean anything.
Now I get the fact that Wyatt's doing it, so it's showing now that he's been pulled into the bath. He's possessed now. But it's like, okay, so he decided to levitate her for a bit.
Yeah.
Didn't want to kill her,
Big Dua Lipa fan.
Anyway, the next day, whilst Doug and Alex are out, Katie sneaks in and Holly is violently thrown against the ceiling, then thrown back down again, which kills her before Katie drags her away. High camp.
All of this
so camp.
is so shit and looks so stupid.
Yeah.
It is high camp.
Katie is in full Michael Myers mode now. Yes. Ben visits
apparently
the home.
Also in full Carrie mode.
Yeah, she does all of it in her mind.
So but then is this not Toby? But then Wyatt makes people levitate.
Yeah. So, once you're in the midwives, you can do whatever you want with your mind.
Yeah.
So, Grandma Lois fucking did reverse splits on someone, so.
But then the question is, if Katie is now telekinetic, why did she also need super strength? Why didn't she?
Do you not remember the Ponytail man telling her that her strength is her gift? In the ghost dimension.
But why didn't she? Stop with the ghost dimension, okay? We'll get to that point. I want.
But I'm telling you why she's strong.
But
That's what I said.
Yes, I get that. But why do you need to be strong if you're telekinetic? Carrie wasn't lifting people with her bare hands.
Also, why didn't Katie just walk into the house, snap a few necks, throw a few people around her mind, and take Wyatt? Honestly, that simple.
So pointless.
Like, why does she have to have another child go in and lure him into the house or whatever? But, hun, you're creating so much work for yourself.
There's absolutely no reason for any
save
of
yourself some effort. walk in, just take him, and fucking kill everyone else.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah.
Like, Ben visits the home to inform Alex about the symbol's relation to a coven. And his neck is not only snapped by Katie, it's fucking spun around.
Yes.
Like, it's ridiculous. She does it so slowly as well. Like, there's no effort put in. And she just fucking kills him immediately.
What was the point?
I mean, it looks great.
It looks fine.
It's just the idea. She loves snapping her neck. But just spinning his head around. It's like, come on. And she drags him into Alex's closet. I mean, what are you hiding him for?
Yeah.
What's the point?
Yeah.
Alex and Doug arrive home at night after. Also, hooray! She's killed another unlikable male character.
She has.
Can't complain. At that.
But a character that disappeared for a large portion of the film. Now, I remember asking where's he been? Because he was such a big part of the beginning of the film, and he was kind of the main male character.
Yeah.
And then just disappeared for a long period. And didn't you say he went on holiday?
He had a thing where he went on holiday and stayed with his granddad in like some throwaway dialogue.
Yeah.
I mean that explains some of it, but then like seemingly when he comes back for this part before he's killed, it sounds like he's been back at home.
Yeah. He talks as if he hasn't been on holiday.
Yeah. So when she was in the garage and being gassed, where the fuck was he to help her?
Exactly.
Yeah. Alex and Doug arrive home at night after dinner, and Doug goes next door when he and Alex spot Katie walk into her house with Wyatt. Alex finds Ben's body in the house and is suddenly knocked down.
Why did she hide it? Why did Katie hide it?
I know. And also, why was she in there for all those hours? Like, why was she only it's dark now. Why it was light when she killed them both. Like, why is she still in that house?
Hanging around.
Why is she just there for all that time?
There's some tiramisu left over in the fridge. A bit peckish.
Some bell peppers.
Some
snack on.
bell peppers. She wanted to see how cooking with Chef Mary ended. I'm intrigued now.
Alex finds Ben's body and is suddenly knocked down by an unseen force and dragged. The next scene, she's just running out of the house. Why? Why is this here? Like, she's dragged. So you think this is going to be like the other films? She's going to be dragged into another room. She's going to become possessed. No. Like, she's just dragged out of her room, which actually saves her a bit of time walking out there, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, they're just helping her out of the house. Like,
no, you're not meant to be here. Yeah. You're meant to be next door for the finale.
Yeah. What kind of shitty editing is that?
Yeah.
And this is a theatrically released major studio film.
Mm-hmm.
She flees to Katie's home and finds Doug being dragged out of sight and killed off screen.
I wouldn't flee to Katie's home.
No.
That wouldn't be the house
She knows her dad's there.
Yeah, but I would probably call the police, but I would probably go in the opposite direction to Katie's home to call the police. With everything that's been going on, I feel like that would be the better option.
She searches for him when she hears Wyatt's voice before a demonic Katie with a CGI face runs towards her in a hallway and fucking smashes through a door.
This is giving shitty YouTube video energy.
It is.
It genuinely really looks shit. Like, why has Katie got a demonic face? What is the point? What is the purpose?
Mm-hmm.
Stupid.
Yeah. Alex escapes from Katie by jumping through a window into the yard, where she finds Wyatt, and I shit you not, an army of witches walking towards her. And I mean, this is a line of witches going back for miles.
Yeah.
Why is there that many?
Yeah, it's like that TikTok where the guy's in a tent and he opens and there's like alligators as far as the eye can see. It's like that. Like, again, what's the purpose? What's the reason?
So stupid. Such a stupid ending. She attempts to flee, but Katie appears behind her. The camera falls to the ground and the footage is cut off. And that's Paranormal Activity 4.
It's Paranormal Activity 4. By this point now, I would say, and maybe it's a little early to be saying this, but this is the moment they kind of jumped the shark.
Having an army of witches, yeah.
Yeah, and just it's so convoluted. It's so overdone. Red herrings, twists, telekinesis, and a ghost, and the Katie story. All of that
Yeah.
just it's bloated.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't quite make any sense. It's certainly not scary at this point. All subtlety is out the window.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an the original film was successful because there was a subtlety to it.
Yeah.
It was a slow burn, maybe a little too slow. But it felt real. It felt like it could happen
Mm-hmm.
to a certain degree. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas this is just so overdone, really just ridiculous.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I just don't understand what they're going for now, because it just feels lazy, especially when you know, it's just the last one was so good. It was so good. It tried something new. It felt refreshing. It felt like there was this exciting new direction to go in. Do you know what? They could have even done this one in the 90s. All that stuff that's found in the one that we will discuss next episode. But like the 1992 stuff with Katie and Christy and stuff, they could have just gone with that. We know the house burns down, so we need to see that. We need to get to that point. They should have just carried on like that, chronologically in that order, and then eventually got back to here once they had a good story to go with. But they didn't have a good story, so they just made shit up. And then the ending, we're back to where we were. There's no questions answered. That kid's still missing. Katie's still missing with him. What now?
Yeah.
What now?
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you what now, we never find out.
No.
There is a bit in the Ghost Dimension that explains it. That's not satisfying. It's stupid. It is fucking stupid. And it's just left open now. So it's like, all this time you invest into the franchise is like, for what?
Yeah, and the scares are very cheap as well.
Yeah.
You've seen them so many times. They try to do it slightly differently, but like levitating, it's like, well, it's the ridiculous now.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel real. It doesn't even feel like found footage for parts of it, because it's so overblown.
Yeah. Well, speaking of found footage, let's delve into our little section of found footage questions. So, camera logic: should they have just put the camera down and ran away, or is there good reason to keep the camera running? And when would you have given up with the filming? There's just so much nonsensical filming in this one, and the sneaky laptop camera thing is just fucking weird.
It's very weird. I can understand Alex and Ben, they're annoying kids, so I can understand why they would be recording so much at the beginning. I find sometimes it's the character building moments. Why would you have a camera at that point?
Yeah.
But I can understand why they would. We're getting into the age now where everyone's filming everything.
Yeah.
So I understand that point. I question why so much of that was left in the film, because it is kind of boring.
Yeah.
At best, and mainly just annoying.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the Paranormal Activity, the recording is rendered pointless the moment Alex realizes it keeps getting erased.
Yeah.
So she doesn't need to record anything anymore. She can just switch everything off now. The moment she realizes that whatever the entity is deleting everything, and it's not being recorded. And I wonder how we're meant to watch it. But the moment that happens, it becomes pointless.
Yeah.
So after that, we shouldn't see any of the film.
It's true. And for when would you have given up filming? I mean, maybe after the car incident, might have been a time, when you were nearly murdered by a ghost.
The moment I was told that everything I was recording was being deleted is the moment that I would have stopped. I'm like, okay, and then point to this then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Realism, it's just out the window at this point.
Completely.
Most effective scare. I gonna go with Alex in the Garage.
Yeah, I agree. It's something a little different, and it's something that in any other film would have been an interesting. Um, it would have been interesting in, say, a Final Destination film.
Yeah. Most likable and unlikable
This
characters.
kind of becomes a Final Destination film at times,
much.
doesn't it? Yeah.
Most likable and unlikable characters. I'd say Alex is the most likable.
Alex is fine. Alex is interesting,
Everyone
likable. Everyone else is either dull, boring, non-entity, or incredibly annoying and kind of creepy.
Yeah. Ending thoughts. Just maybe the it's not the
Not
worst.
the worst.
Close. It's close to the worst one of the franchise.
We're into full-on shitty YouTube video.
Yeah.
Now, very.
Just too much CGI.
Yeah.
Just so there's never needed to be CGI in this franchise. Too much CGI, and that gang of witches.
The gang of witches. Really just shit. It really is really bad.
Yeah.
And I've seen it all before.
Yeah. So ratings, I give it 2 bell peppers lovingly prepared by Chef Mary out of 10.
I gave it 2 riveting bell pepper facts out of 10.
Masterpiece, trash, basic, or a camp or bunch of fun. I was going to give it basic, but I think that's too kind. It's trash.
It's trash. It is trash.
It's,
Yeah, really just trash.
It's available on Blu-ray, DVD, video on demand, and Paramount Plus. And if you enjoyed this, I recommend checking out A Nightmare on Elm Street, a better film about kids suffering because of their parents' ignorance, and alongside the parents' ignorance, with a better seal and dragon scene.
Yes. Or if you actually did really enjoy this film, watch the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street. Another trash.
Yeah, you might actually enjoy it.
Something else that's trash is Amityville: The Awakening.
That's true.
So if you enjoyed Paranormal Activity 4, rent Amityville: The Awakening.
But now it brings us to the second film for this episode, and the final good film in this franchise. It's Paranormal Activity, the marked ones from 2014, which
10 years ago. Fuck,
yeah.
I mean, I don't remember it coming out, but
was there ever a point where you ever heard of any of these films coming out?
Paranormal Activity.
I guess the first one.
Literally Paranormal Activity. I was complete by the time 4, 5, all of that. Well, no, even 2 and 3, completely off my radar. I don't know why, because I'm a horror film fan, but I suppose I'm a classic horror film fan. But completely off my radar.
Unusual, considering how big they were as well.
Yeah.
Like, one of the biggest franchises of all time. So the Marked Ones, written and directed by Christopher Landon. They gave him his own film, and you know what? This is a film that feels like it was made by a fan of the franchise, someone who's been on board from the early days.
Yeah.
And it's a film that goes over the top, but just the right level of over the top. Like, to the point where it's stupid, but it's fucking entertaining. And Paranormal Activity 4 didn't go that far. The one after this will go too far. This just gets it right. And that, for me, is why it's one of the most solid sequels in the franchise. But also, the fact that it looks at a different culture and takes a different angle, which is so refreshing. It's not your annoying white family with big fucking high ceilings and chandeliers.
Yeah. And the reason why I think it stands out as one of the better entries is the simple fact that it does something different. Thank God.
Yeah. It's a Latino film. And admittedly, most of it's in English. I'm sure there's many things to be said about that. But it attempts to go from somewhere new.
Yeah, it looks at a similar story, and it ends up being part of the whole story. Spoiler alert. But it looks at the story from a different angle, with different people, with their own culture and their own stories. and it's not it doesn't fully embrace all of that, but the fact that it dares to do something a little different and it tells someone else's story that we don't always see in horror, I really appreciate that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Budget was $5 million, and unfortunately, it's kind of a franchise low. It made $90.8 million at the box office. Due to the longer production, it didn't wrap filming until late July 2013, which resulted in the original release date of October 25th being pushed back to January 3rd.
Yeah, I think because it's also not Paranormal Activity 5, and it's technically a kind of a spin-off, or at least
it was marketed,
appears and marketed to be as a spin-off.
It was marketed. This was gonna be the Latino Paranormal Activity spin-off, which kind of excited me because I thought, oh my god, okay, so we're gonna get one from different cultures. Maybe we're gonna get a proper Japanese Paranormal Activity film with a big theatrical release. It would be great to see this all around the world with different cultures. Yeah. Because, one of the strong points of this film is how they tried to get rid of the demon is so different because it's not like what we've seen in all the other films.
Yes.
And your traditional exorcism and so on.
So it's more sort of like Martine in part 2. Yeah. A character that we really enjoyed. It's almost, and she's not in this film, and this isn't her family, but it's almost looking at it from her perspective. Like why was she sort of, and there is a character in this who's very kind of similar to Martine. But why was she burning sage? What does her culture think of this? What is that cultural take on Paranormal Activity?
But yeah, and it is a shame it didn't do better. It even drops the night 1, night 2 thing where you don't have to watch this people just sleeping over and over again. Yeah. Because as much as they worked for the first 3, the fourth one really just ran into the ground.
But this film I also find isn't actually about ghosts.
No.
It's not actually about ghosts.
Yeah. Should we talk about who's in it?
Yes, in a section we like to call Hey, I Know You.
Andrew Jacobs plays Jesse Arista. This is his first role. He was in Major Crimes, Wuthering High, Lasso, Run for Your Life, Goliath, Unbelievable, Trinkets, Mayans, MC, FBI Most Wanted, The Mosquito, and Fireman's Fetish.
Wuthering High looks camp as
It does.
It looks cheap as fuck. From Emily Bronte's classic tale of obsession and revenge. Starring Academy Award nominee James Caan, Francesca Eastwood. On the
he has his tattoos on the poster.
Oh, is this his tattoos?
Yeah.
Oh, he's got Marilyn Monroe on his neck.
Yeah, so he has tattoos covering his neck, hands, and arms, amongst others, but they were digitally erased in post-production. And the only scene where it's visible is the one by the vending machine. So where he's kneeling down, you can actually see the tattoo above his right knee.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. I thought that I've never seen Wuthering High, but I thought maybe that was a different sort of character choice.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he plays Heath, so the Heathcliff version in high school. I'm assuming.
In the documentary, Christopher Landon was saying that he just saw him performing on the streets, just doing things on the streets. And then just like coming audition for his film, and he got the part. And he's really good in the film.
Yeah.
And George Diaz plays Hector Estrella. He was in The Long Road Home, The 33, High and Mighty, Jane the Virgin, For All Mankind, Days of Our Lives, American Carnage, Cleopatra in Space, and more.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. He was.
Yeah. Yes. I'm not sort of. Yeah. I'm not. None of those are really sticking out to me. I'm sorry.
Gabrielle Walsh plays Marisol Vargas. She was in Shameless, the American version. 911, The Vampire Diaries, Lucifer, The Flash TV show, From Dusk Till Dawn, the series, Replica, Agent X, and more. So a lot of TV with her.
Okay, nice.
And Renee Victor a big highlight of the film as Irma Arista. She was in El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie, Chef, Mayans MC, Shameless US, Orange is the New Black, South Reliance, A Crooked Somebody, The Heartbreak Kid, and more.
She was the voice of Eleanor Rivera. I think, unless I'm sadly mistaken, well, not sadly, but unless I'm mistaken, the grandmother in Coco.
Oh, okay.
Potentially, I think that was the grandmother. But yeah, she's the voice
That's
in Coco.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, I love Coco.
And we also get cameos from previous franchise actors: Katie Featherston, Mika Sloat, Molly Emfrome, Chloe Sangri, Jessica Tyler Brown, and Hallie Foote in a photo.
Go on, Hallie Foote.
Let's talk about our second feature presentation.
Check it out. What is it? It looks like a bite or something.
Jesse? Jesse, are you okay?
What?
Oh, it's not bloody, see? Oh my god. Please tell me that it's not a toenail.
She thinks something's evil around me.
Look.
Something possessed Christy and then Katie. The ones that are marked,
Oh my god.
they become the permanent hosts.
Jesse!
Paranormal Activity, The Marked Ones. In theaters January 3rd.
In June 2012, 18-year-old high school graduate Jesse Arista lives with his father Caesar, sister Yvette, dog Chavo, and grandmother Irma in Oxnard, California. In the apartment below lives a mysterious woman named Anna Sanchez, who everyone believes to be a witch.
Yeah, so we're introduced to these characters, and he has a new camera, Jesse. And I like, maybe more than the rest of the franchise, I like these introductory scenes. He says, "Welcome to my mansion," which I thought may have been a little comment on the rest of the franchise, because he is, his single parent. His father lives with his grandmother. It's a small apartment. Small apartment in what I assume, I'm not too familiar with American, cities and such, but I imagine is a fairly low income area, which is really, really interesting, and I'm so glad that we're seeing it from this. It's the kind of place where Jennifer Lopez talks about. I don't know if probably California, not New York, but it's how we see America. Grandma Irma, she loves a shake weight.
She does.
She loves Jesus as well.
She does.
She's got Jesus everywhere, and I do like how Jesse and his best friend Hector, they're just doing random dumb shit.
What people would do with a camera
is what these kind of guys would. They've just finished school. They don't really know. They want, if they want to go to college or they want to work or they want to do. Basically, they just want to be best friends doing dumb shit in front of a camera and maybe put it on YouTube. And make some money that way. It's the kind of dumb shit that young kids do. He's going down some steps in a box of some sort. Do they skateboard? I feel like they skateboard at one point. Or
there is a skateboard scene later on.
Okay. But that kind of stuff. And we also get as well some nice family moments with likable family members. They have a chemistry together. It's not, they're dumb kids, and there are moments that we will talk about where they act like dumb kids. It's a bit annoying, but generally really likable characters.
One night, whilst Irma is doing shots with Jesse's best friend Hector Estrella and singing in the kitchen, they hear moaning and screaming coming from Anna's apartment. So Jesse dangles his GoPro down his vent whilst Hector watches on the TV as a naked Anna paints the triangle with a circle on a naked woman's torso. First bit of nudity in the franchise.
Was it maybe a little forced? Maybe there was some complaints on the internet like, oh, it's not saucy enough, these films. So we do, yeah, this is one of the moments where their dumb shit feels a lot intrusive.
Yeah.
It's a bit like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. And then they're like, oh, yeah, she looks great.
Yeah.
A nice rack or whatever they say in these sort of films. And then Anna, who is, a larger woman, comes along and they're like, oh no, boner
Yeah.
killer. Oh no, an older woman. Oh, how disgusting. Oh, look at that body. Give her a good old body shaming, considering the fact that they are illegally recording her at that moment as well. Like, what happened to knocking on someone's door if you think that they're in trouble, rather than spying on them with your GoPro?
But also still doesn't feel too unrealistic.
No, but we established that they are flawed characters.
Yes, yeah. When Anna is found murdered, Jesse and Hector spot classmate Oscar Lopez running from the scene. The two get high and investigate the apartment, where they find black magic items, a crying baby doll in a cot, surgical items, Dennis's VHS tapes from Paranormal Activity 3, indicating that it was Anna who stole them in the second film, and a journal of spells that can open doorways to unholy places. A journal that also includes pictures of characters from the previous films.
So they decide to smoke weed beforehand, like Gary said, and put on Jamaican accents.
Yeah.
If I had a nickel for every time someone put on a Jamaican accent in a Paranormal Activity film, I'd have 2 nickels.
That's definitely too much.
Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice.
That is weird, yeah. Same writer as well. Christopher Landon, what are you doing?
So if it's the same writer, was it meant to be an endearing trait for
Daniel? I don't think there's anything endearing about that man. But they going into the apartment, they investigating into the apartment whilst they're high. I think is actually a really creepy scene. Like the crying baby doll in a cart, the surgical item. Why the fuck would they have surgical items in there?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the VHS tapes and the spell book and everything. I really think it's a really well-paced scene that builds tension.
Yeah.
The open doorways to unholy places. The payoff for that is fucking wild.
Alright, yeah.
Once you get it.
Okay.
You obviously know what I'm on about because we're going to get to it later in the film. But something you'd never expect from this franchise. No?
We'll discuss it when we get there,
Yeah. But yeah, when I first watched this and, it was revealed that the tapes there and everything's like, oh, this is really a sequel. This isn't a spin-off. This is really connected.
It is.
They should have just called this Paranormal Activity 5, and I reckon it would have made money.
Yes. Yeah. Hindsight's a bitch, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's 2020, so is hindsight a bitch? Have I just made that up on the spot?
Just made that up, yeah.
Okay, good.
After Jesse, Hector, and their friend Marisol Vargas, who Jesse definitely has a thing for, try out a ritual in a church from the journal to open a portal, paranormal occurrences take place in Jesse's apartment. So after Hector draws a cock on Jesse's face to great hilarity, Jesse tells him about a dream he had in which he was on a farm with lots of older ladies. And he also reveals he has a bite mark on his arm, and Chavo starts acting strange towards him. Now, the bite mark on his arm is the same as Katie and Christie's ones in the first 2 films.
Oh.
So, one night, the trio communicates with an unknown entity through a Simon game, but Irma stops them and warns them it's bad. Did you ever have Simon?
No, I didn't. No. I had a bop it, which I don't think would have worked as well.
I don't think it would have, no.
A bop it for yes, and a pull it for no.
Yeah, excuse me. The Simon game, honestly, hardly used, but still better than the Connect.
I'm pleased that they had this, because this is your Paranormal Activity.
Yeah.
This is what I hope they put in the marketing to market it as a paranormal Activity ghost film.
Yeah.
It's something a little different as well. What did you mean Connect?
Xbox Connect.
Oh,
I know
Xbox Connect. Yeah.
We've literally just spoke about
I
the
was
film.
thinking Connect 4. I was like, which one's Connect 4? Yeah, no, works better than Connect.
Yeah.
And it's the idea of them communicating with it like an almost modern version of a Ouija board.
Yeah. Yeah,
which
much.
I like that. And I bet it looked great in the marketing and the trailers and such.
I actually don't think it was used in the trailers.
No, well,
I think the
it
focus in the trailers
been.
is there's something happening to this guy.
Yeah, which is what the film's really about. Because I do believe that this film, as I have mentioned with other films, is an analogy, and I think it's an analogy for drug addiction.
Yeah.
Dabbling in black magic could be akin to dabbling in drugs.
Yeah.
And we see the change of Jesse, bite marks, needle marks, all that. And I genuinely think that's what the film goes with.
Yeah.
And this change in him, and also Oscar, who we'll find out more about. But the idea they are good kids, good family orientated kids who go down a wrong path.
Yeah, Anna could be seen as a drug dealer.
Absolutely.
After Jesse pays Hector to eat a spicy taco, and Hector proceeds to shart.
She was just shart. I was going to say Anna was serving crack at one point.
She was definitely serving a bit of crack. So Hector sharts on the street.
Hector sharts.
He does. He literally shits.
He does. I mean, that's a drag name.
Irma starts trying to cleanse the house from bad spirits, but Caesar and Yvette are fuming whilst Jesse defends her.
Yeah. Yes. Sorry, I'm just stuck on Hector Sharp.
What did you think of his dad and sister for this? And their reaction to her cleansing the house?
Maybe again, not. Maybe they see it as quite old-fashioned. Old-fashioned superstitiousness. That doesn't really correlate with modern times.
Yeah.
I think the dad is pretty much a non-entity in the film.
Yeah.
He's a hard-working guy who's at work a lot, trying to provide for his family. And again, if we're looking at it as like a drug addiction, him not being there is him not neglecting Jesse, but not being able to see the changes or to prevent him from going down this path, because he obviously has to work all the hours to make a living for his mother. I think Irma is his mother, lives with them, so she needs providing for. It's a single income. Yeah. And he says to Jesse at one point, "Are you going to go out and get a job?" And he doesn't know his direction, so he's not bringing any money into the household. Yeah. So I think it's interesting. It's not seen in the same way as in Paranormal Activity 4, where it's the jingle all the way. Yeah. Kind of absent father who puts business before everything else. This guy, he's earning a wage, so he's not quite there. But yeah, so Grandma Irma kind of has to take that role. Yeah.
One day, Jesse wakes up with superhuman abilities and discovers he can levitate, do amazing tricks on a skateboard, and hurl bullies through the air. Yes. He and Hector upload videos of this to YouTube, and people immedially start commenting about how fake it is.
Yes. Yeah. Hector cannot do any of that. No. He tries, but he can't do any of it. I did find it quite funny that the YouTube, this is so fake. Yeah. It's like, because they think they're going to be big stars, and they're going to be like, this is it, this is our fame and fortune now. Yeah. And nobody believes them, even though it is actually true.
At a party, Jesse and Hector meet a girl called Penelope and her friend.
Could you imagine the ending of Paranormal Activity 4 on YouTube? This is so fake. That's Catherine Newton.
Do you think Katie and Christy, once they got possessed, do you think they could do all stuff like this?
I I mean, is this not kind of part of like so when Wyatt was possessed,
Yeah.
he could levitate people.
Uh-huh.
Katie became possessed at the end of part 1, and she could hurl Mika through the air with the greatest of ease. So is this just not a variant of that?
But yeah.
I mean, at the end of Paranormal Activity 1, I mean, if Katie had tried to skateboard, maybe it would have worked out. Just because she didn't try,
it's true.
doesn't mean she wasn't able
It's
to.
true. Well, at a party, they meet.
And you do have that image in your head
I
now.
do. I do.
Can somebody not using AI create something of that, please?
At a party, they meet a girl called Penelope and her friend. Did you get her friend's name?
Penelope's friend.
Penelope's friend.
Yeah. I mean, I think officially that was her name.
The standards are low for men in that area because Jesse forces a kiss on Penelope when he asks her to kiss him on the cheek, and he quickly turns his mouth around.
Yeah.
And she thinks this is the sexiest thing. And they go back to Anna's apartment.
Yeah.
Because a dead person's apartment's fucking sexy. And Penelope and Jesse start to have sex, but when Jesse goes off to go get a condom, Penelope encounters Oscar, who scares her away.
Yeah, so she's kind of waiting there, and this is being filmed because she tells him
to film it.
I would like this filmed.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous, but okay. For a scare, you know, it's not everything has to be 100% realistic. But she's just sort of like lying there, and it is kind of awkward. I was all watching, and there's a little bit of noise, a little bit of perceived paranormal activity, and yeah, so she's scared away, and Oscar's been living in the cellar this whole time. The cellar door opens, and he appears out of it.
Yeah, he bumps into Jesse. And has black eyes and the same bite mark as Jesse on his arm.
He says, she put it inside of me, in reference to Anna, and admits that he killed her.
Yeah. Yeah, and he tells Jesse that it's only a matter of time before something inside them takes over and they'll harm those they love before disappearing, and that he needs to kill himself to stop this. And Oscar does this for a great jump scare. When they're out in the street and Hector and Jesse are shouting to each other across the road, and he jumps off a building and lands on a car in front of Jesse.
Really great jump scare. You know, I'm not a massive fan, but this one was done well.
Yeah.
I really like this. Maybe one of the best scares of the franchise, I would say.
The group discovers a trapdoor in Anna's apartment.
So they discover what Oscar appeared from.
Where they find a witch altar and photos of Jesse, his pregnant mother, Anna, Oscar, and Katie and Christie's grandmother, Lois. So, at this point, it's clear that Jesse is obviously going to be a firstborn son.
Yes.
Really interesting idea. The fact that obviously this law has been set up now. You kind of what you're going to do with it. You've got a law where this coven of witches, it's a coven. We saw at the end of the last one, unfortunately, that there's an army of them. So there's so many of them. It's going to be so many different people. I like that this film takes it from a different side that's connected to the same one.
Yeah.
Instead of, I mean, as much as you want to get a conclusion to what's been going on before that, it's nice to look at it from a different angle and different people and how they react to it. Like with him being like, oh, this is really cool. It's kind of like it's almost like a superhero film. I can do all this cool shit.
Yeah.
Whereas everyone else is immediately like, oh shit, fuck, I'm being haunted. What am I going to do? So yeah, I think that's a really good direction to go in. That's until
he wasn't best pleased when he pulls out 2 incredibly long, thick hairs from his eyes.
Yeah, foot-long black hairs growing in his eye socket. That was used in the marketing.
Yes.
His face has a quick CGI demon change, but it's the long hairs coming out of the eye. That's the effective bit.
Yeah, it's
so good.
It's creepy. It's uncomfortable. Like,
yeah,
of course.
Jesse, Hector, and Marisol visit Oscar's criminal brother, Arturo, even, and he shows them Oscar's room, which is full of newspaper clippings of families where their firstborn son has gone missing. Amongst these is the Ray family, and Oscar has Ali's number, which Hector takes as Jesse storms off.
Yeah, so this, I'm glad they're linking it back, and it's not in a convoluted way, because throughout Paranormal Activity 4, you were asking, where's Ali?
Yeah.
Where's Ali
Yeah.
Ray?
Yeah.
You know, where's Ali Ray?
A question that should have been answered. It should have been there, but, but I'm glad in this one they actually bring her back.
Yes.
We'll get to her shortly. Before then, Jesse gradually becomes dark, suicidal, and violent, which disturbs Hector and Marisol.
And poor Chavo, the dog.
Yes.
Who at one point he levitates into the ceiling.
Yeah.
Like, not into it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Up to the ceiling.
It's like
not into it. I was like,
torturing him in a weird way.
Yeah, and laughing. And he argues with a randomer in the supermarket for talking to Marisol.
Yeah.
Because I think he's got a thing for Marisol. Yeah, and I absolutely see this as the drug addiction taking hold. He's not really aware of his actions anymore. He thinks he's superhuman. He is, but he also knows that he is and acts that way. And yeah, this is definitely, in my opinion, the drug addiction taking hold.
Yeah. Well, one night, he is lured to the trapdoor by the sounds of Chavo crying and encounters the younger versions of Katie and Christy, both with black eyes, before being attacked by an unknown force.
It's one of those scenes that I feel maybe a little forced. You know, what do we need the creepy kid part of it? Are we trying to make it feature length? Do you know what I mean? Is it necessary to have this?
Yeah. I think the interesting part is the fact that we know who these characters are.
Yeah.
And we're kind of like, okay, how are the younger versions of these characters there?
My question is why? Why do we have to involve these other characters? Why can't, if you're marketing this as a separate to the main storyline, but you are incorporated, so to have Grandma Lois there, incorporates it into the story, to have the same lore, you know, not lore,
Yes.
but to have the same reasoning for Jesse's possession, firstborn son, all of that business. If you are taking a sidestep to what Paranormal Activity 4 established, which wasn't much, or let's say Paranormal Activity 3, you don't need these scenes.
Yeah.
You don't need, you just, the Lois there and Ali Ray. I don't know why I'm so formal with her, but you know, she deserves it, she's queen. Ali Ray, having them, the little tidbits of their story, okay, works.
Yeah.
But like, oh, creepy kids in the cellar.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get you. Again, heavily featured in the marketing.
Absolutely.
Hector and Marisol meet up with Ali, who has been researching demons after her father Daniel and stepmother Christy were killed, and half-brother Hunter was kidnapped by possessed Katie.
When they were researching spiders in the Amazon
before, This bitch has been doing her fucking homework.
She has.
She's got a big book full of photos. She's got the Katie and Mika one that was smashed. She's got so many photos there. Really camp one of Lois with Katie and Christy. And she tells them that Jesse has been marked by a worldwide coven of witches called the Midwives, who have been brainwashing women to give up their firstborn sons to create an army of possessed young men. For what? Who knows? She also tells them about a final ritual that is supposed to take place and warns them that Jesse will no longer exist if the demon fully consumes him and if the ritual is completed. This kind of makes it feel like a requel, this scene. This is very requel coded. It's the legacy character is back and she's telling you how to defeat the evil.
Yes. Somewhere in this scene you can hear in the background Katie shouting, "Well, fuck my drag." why are they looking for possessed young men when Katie has been giving Terminator energy for the past 4 films? To me, it feels a little... Again, I keep using this term, but it feels convoluted.
I question the need for the firstborn sons.
Yes.
Unless it's to get them pregnant for something. I don't know. I don't know what the point is. And I'm hoping Christopher Landon had an idea. I'm hoping he had an idea of where that was going. But obviously didn't really flesh out in the end.
No.
So at this point, you're just left with that question. It's like, why?
These fit strong men to be an army. But at the last, the last 5 minutes of the previous film, you had an army of older women who looked way scarier.
Yeah. And also, let's not forget, Grandma Lois fucking snapping backs and everything with her mind.
Yeah.
You know, it is a strange
What
one.
is the
yeah.
I'm sure it would go on to be some to talk about gender, how it's still a man's world, despite Katie being the world's strongest auntie. It's still a man's world.
It's just amusing how it's got to that point. I feel like at first it was like, oh, they need a firstborn son. Oh, how mysterious. Why did they need that for? And like, okay, well, I've got you. They need more firstborn sons. Oh, okay, what's that? Yeah, you're never going to find out.
As a second-born son, I'm insulted.
You're fine. You're safe. I'm fucked.
Yeah.
Hector finds Jesse torturing Shava, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So Irma attempts to cleanse him of the demon, and shit goes fucking crazy. The room starts to warp. Things are flying everywhere. Jesse randomly appears levitating in the middle of the room.
I like the build-up. I like Irma performing the ritual with the eggs. I'm not sure about the ins and outs, but it's been used in a few films in the past.
I mean, I assume it's a real shop that she goes to get the materials.
Yeah, and then the egg, when she cracks it, it's black inside, and I like that, and I like bringing that culture into it, and spoiler alert, poor Irma, we don't see her after the end of this scene, but I do think that the Jesse in the room with the levitating shit and it being like a vortex or some sort of like whirlwind or something, I think it looks a bit cheesy.
Yeah,
I do think it looks a bit cheesy.
I don't think that's by accident though. I mean, let's remember who's directed it. You know,
but it doesn't work.
Cheese and camp is Christopher Landon's thing.
It feels out of place though.
Yeah. Irma is pushed down the stairs by Jesse and taken to a hospital, and that's it. It's the last we see of her.
Yeah, it's a real shame.
Yeah.
But I'm glad she didn't die.
Well, we don't know, do we?
Well, I mean, glad we don't see her die.
Yes. Marisol calls Ali and she gives her the address for where the final ritual will take place. Jesse attacks Hector, but Marisol knocks him unconscious with a baseball bat. She steps up and...
It's about time.
Yeah.
She hasn't stepped up.
She hasn't done much.
I think Grandma Irma, she needed someone to replace her.
She did.
What happened to his sister at this point, by the way?
I mean, she's in the house when she's calling Ali, so...
Yeah.
But that's the thing, her and the dad, they don't get involved in any of the paranormal stuff. They stay completely out of it.
They don't believe they don't... Yeah, they're the skeptics. They're just quite quiet skeptics, actually.
As they're attempting to leave, a van smashes into Hector and Marisol's car, and Jesse is kidnapped. It's so funny that the witches have all these massive cars, like shady drug dealers. Hector and Marisol, Arturo, and his friend Santo go to the address, which turns out to be Lois's house from the third film. Again,
dun, dun, dun.
It feels like something you'd see in a requel. I mean, Scream 5, you know, the legacy character comes back, you end up in the location from the other film.
Yes.
I love it. I think it's such... Again, it feels like it's made by a fan for the fans.
Yeah.
You know, and as a fan, I love it. So good. In the garden, Coven members rush in to attack, but Arturo shoots them and sends them fucking flying.
Now we're getting like a zombie film.
Yeah. It's like they're screaming as they're running at him. It's really camp. There's a great scene where they go to the room where the witches were found in part 3, and instead of witches, it's like a doll's head. They have Marilyn. Is it Marilyn Monroe? So Hector and Marisol run inside, leaving Arturo's fate unknown. They find Santo dead, and Marisol is also killed.
Marisol, she has a better drop from the ceiling moment than Holly, doesn't she?
She does. Yes.
Not as camp.
No.
And we did kind of feel for her, so it's a bit like, poor Marisol.
Hector.
Not that much.
Hector's just running around the house at this point. He runs to a figure resembling Anna. He's chased by a possessed Jesse. So he flees into a room and shuts the door, but Jesse breaks it down, forcing Hector to go for a strangely marked brown door. Now this has like the witch symbols all around it. The camera goes fuzzy, and the door he goes through sends him back in time to the household of Katie and Mika. I was gagged. Like, gagged isn't even a word. Most shocking moment of the franchise for me. I couldn't believe it. Because, like this is following up on what I said earlier. It's, doors to unholy places, and they're trying to create a portal and everything. You don't think it's going to actually go anywhere. It's a found footage film. They're not going to go back in time. They're going to go to different places through portals. So when it's actually happened, I was like, oh my God. But it doesn't feel too stupid. It's over the top. It's ridiculous. But because of how they do it, it's kind of like, oh no, this works.
Yes. It was a nice gasp. A nice surprise.
Yeah, you see a beating station again.
Yeah. And it's nice to see it from another angle, which we'll discuss in a second. For me personally, I wonder why. And I'm assuming there was a big reason Christopher Landon had for this. That I'm assuming if the film had done better, we would have found out.
Yeah.
But it creates more questions than it answers, which can be quite frustrating because the previous film raised a lot more questions than it answered. Part 3, okay. And part 2, a few questions that remained unanswered, and obviously part 1 started it all.
Yeah.
So looking back now, knowing that none of this is kind of linked, or none of it is answered, and I keep saying the word answered, but that is the word. Then it's frustrating. It's cool. It's a cool moment, but ultimately leads nowhere.
Yeah, but do you not think this would be a good conclusion? Like, it's taking you back to the beginning.
But
These witches can create portals, but do you not think you could have just ended there and it would have been more satisfying than where it actually ends?
Yes, because
it's kind of
Ghost Dimension is one of the worst films
Yeah.
I have ever had to withstand. It could have just been Katie having a piss, and it still would have been better.
It's true. It's true.
Let's be honest. But yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
It's cool. It is cool. It is cool.
Hector sees Katie go into the kitchen. After unsuccessfully attempting to get her attention, Katie turns around to see Hector and screams for Mika in a very familiar way, who assumes Hector is an intruder and tackles him, but Katie violently stabs Mika to death with a kitchen knife, showing us how the first film ends from the other angle.
Thank God. I have to say, I'm so happy to see it from the other angle. It was nice to see him get thrown at the camera.
Yeah,
but I'm pleased to see the other part of it as well. This absolute dickhead getting his comeuppance. Thank you, Hector.
Hector tries to flee the house, only to be attacked and presumably killed by a demonic Jesse as the camera drops to the floor. After a moment of total silence, a witch picks up the camera and turns it off.
Saving the batteries.
There was another ending, which is revealed in the documentary. It occurs after Jesse is knocked down by Hector and Marisol. They enlist Arturo's help and take him to a church, the one from earlier in the film, where they supposedly successfully exorcise his demon, after which they are attacked by Coven members, and the ending concludes with Jesse and Hector observing a small fire starting from inside the church. I'm glad they went with the theatrical ending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arturo was kind of forgotten by the end.
Yeah, no one knows what happened to him.
No. Yeah, I feel like he was potentially a misunderstood character.
Yeah.
I think we could have had a little about his stories too, actually. I think that would have been quite interesting. But then how do you bring that into the found footage aspect?
It's true. When you've
It's
already...
Like, Arturo, tell us more about yourself. Tell us about your criminal life on camera.
But there's a funny scene quite early on where they're filming out in the street, messing around with a camera, and they actually film some guys who are up to no good across the road, and they start chasing them. And it's like, like, yes, with the amount of times people filming this franchise, it's amazing. That's the first time that's happened.
Someone says, "Why the fuck are you filming me? Get the fuck away from me."
But that's Paranormal Activity, the marked one.
It is
the last good one in the franchise.
Yeah, and I would say it's good. It's an enjoyable film. It very much like part 3, where the characters that you're meant to care about, you care about.
Yeah,
and so it works, and you're invested in their story.
Yeah,
and that story may go a little off kilter, but I'm still invested in it because I like these characters.
Yeah, no, definitely. Let's talk some found footage. So camera logic. Should they have just put the camera down and run away? Is there a good reason to keep the camera running? When would you have given up with the filming? Like you said earlier, the idea of Jesse and Hector messing around with the camera and still filming once Jesse starts getting his powers, it makes sense.
Yeah,
it's what you'd expect these things to do.
Yeah. They are. We're getting into the generation here that is permanently online.
Yeah,
and permanently filming things. Not to age myself terribly here, but I am one of those grumpy people who hates the fact that any song I watch live at a concert has to be filmed by 50 people.
Sure.
I'm like, well, just one of you film it.
Yeah.
So I don't have to look at your camera the whole time. You know, one person film it and just send it to everyone else. Anyway, I digress. But you know, they would be filming all of this. They probably would upload it all to YouTube and say, you know, here's my life, here's the vlog, here's Jesse. I believe that. Once shit hits the fan at the end, I do question why. I do feel like at some point you're gonna chuck the camera.
I would have put it down as soon as he started lashing out people at the shop.
Yeah,
like, that's probably
true.
Okay, hang on a minute. Let's just talk about this now. Let's put the camera down. Let's have a talk. What's going on with you? What's wrong?
That is true. They say if this is Jesse's World on YouTube, like and subscribe. Once Jesse starts being aggressive with randomers and bullying his pet dog, then maybe that's the time to say, okay. Let's get you some help here. But then at the end, it's I'm assuming, and it's not really established, but I'm assuming he uses the camera for light. I think it happens a lot with
the
found
same
footage.
reason as why Dennis had the camera. In that same house.
So many found footage films. You know, all the lights are out, so I'm using the camera now as like a flashlight, a torch of sorts. Yeah, I can forgive that.
Yeah, a lot of that actually covers the realism category, but realism obviously is fucked once we get time travel.
Absolutely,
that's fine. I'm fine
with I mean, it is what it is. I'm not looking for realism in ghost films necessarily. No. I think there is an art to it and a subtlety, which has by this point been completely lost.
Yeah.
But I mean, the film fully embraces it, so you know, you got to give credit where it's due. At least it's not trying to backtrack too much.
No. The most effective scare.
For me,
Mm-hmm.
the Oscar's death jump scare.
For me, it's...
Like, that actually made me jump.
Yeah.
Legit.
It's Jesse pulling the black hair from his eyes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's creepy.
Most likable and unlikable characters. This is tough because, I mean, everyone's likable.
Well, not really.
Who's unlikable then?
Mika.
Oh, shit! Yes!
He does make a return.
Mika is the most unlikable character. Everyone else is likable, and then there's Mika.
And also, we do get, what's his name? From part 2.
Daniel. Picture.
We do get a
picture of
Daniel jump scare. So, there we go. The two most unlikable characters.
Ending thoughts. I know we just spoke about it a lot, but for me, second best ending of the franchise behind the third film.
It was good.
Think if you're going to go over the top and silly,
absolutely,
it's the way to do it.
Fully embrace it. I like it. It's interesting. It's gasp worthy.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily this film's fault that it never got answered, because I'm assuming they wanted to continue this arc for the next film, but unfortunately the film didn't do very well. And it felt really good to see Mika's murder.
Yeah. I mean, could you, like, the potential they had with this ending, if Hector had survived that at the end and met up with Ali after what happens a few hours later, that could have been such a fucking good sequel. Just them documenting themselves, trying to hunt down these witches.
Yeah.
Great.
TV spin-off.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like I said it from the beginning, this franchise should have been a TV series anyway. Really. Yeah. Because, again, I don't find that these films work at feature length. There's too much filler. There's too many forced scares. Yeah. You know, it could be more succinct in, what would be a 45-minute, really, TV show. Or an hour. You know, I feel like it would work better. I understand that the problem is it would be good if it was Netflix. Yeah. If it was on TV, you would have to have ad breaks. Yeah. And I feel like that would really take away from it. But Netflix miniseries, a whole hour each episode, I think would work fantastic for Paranormal Activity in general. Yeah.
So ratings, I give it 8 shots caused by spicy tacos out of 10.
I give it 6 Grandma Irma shake weights out of 10.
Masterpiece, trash piece, basic, or a camp or bunch of fun. Do you know what? I'm going to give it a camp or bunch of fun.
Ooh, it is.
Just because it's silly.
Yeah, it is very silly. Very silly. I think it's good. I think it's a very good film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's available on Blu-ray, DVD, video on demand, Sky Go, and Paramount Plus. And if you enjoy this, I recommend checking out Chronicle, which is a found footage film.
Oh.
People get powers.
Oh.
And things go wrong.
Oh, I've never seen it. Is it good?
It's all right. Yeah. Michael B. Jordan's in it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. If you enjoyed this, I recommend checking out Evil Dead Rise.
Yes, that makes sense. In a flat. Change up surroundings.
In a flat. Possession. Yes, a lot more gory. But I think a similar story told to a certain degree.
So it's awards time, and first up we have Biggest Queen.
Grandma Roma.
It's Grandma Roma.
It's Grandma Roma.
It is, obviously. Biggest gasp, I got the return to Katie and Mika's house at the end of the marked ones.
I went with Oscar's suicide.
Best dialogue. Watch your language.
Watch your language. The only memorable quote. I'm going to be perfectly honest again.
Dialogue is difficult for these
Dialogue is so difficult because it's not in any way Paranormal Activity's strong point. The dialogue.
It's not. It's not. It's not the point. And that's camp. I mean, I hate to give 2 awards to Paranormal Activity 4, but it's got to be Holly getting snatched up to that ceiling.
Holly's wild ride in part 4, definitely. High camp. That was one. I swear that was one of the first Paranormal Activity things you showed me.
No,
like somebody did.
Someone must have shown.
Somebody genuinely was said this is the shittest and campest thing and it was that scene where she just gets lobbed up in the air and then dropped. So stupid.
Gives a well, not just yet. I'll get to that shortly. But we are Horror Cult Trash over on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and Horror Cult Trash on Twitter. I'm Dead at Gaz92 on Letterboxd, Gazmo205 on Instagram, and GazChris92 on Twitter.
I'm Chris Barker 823 on Instagram and Letterboxd.
And we also come together to be Gasp Horror Fest across all social media as well. Go and see what that's all about. Give us a rate, review, subscribe on iTunes, like a follow on everything else. And Friday, we will be concluding our journey through this franchise. It's night 3.
Night 3.
And we will be discussing, we mentioned it a lot throughout this episode, we will be discussing the Ghost Dimension 3D.
3D.
And Next of Kin as well.
And Next of Kin.
We'll have something to say about that. But we're discussing Ghost Dimension. So we'll be back same time, same place on Friday.
Bye.